Hello and welcome to another modelling video. This is Alan from the Mokona Man at YouTube with another modelling video. Today we're going to be playing around and reviewing Flock. I've got a sample of Woodland Scenics fine turf flock. The interesting thing about Flock is it's a spongy, fine or coarsely coloured material that you apply onto bases to look like various bits of foliage, bushes or grass. Depending on the scale is depending on how coarse or fine the flock you'll actually use. Working in the much smaller Gundam scale, I'm going to be using very fine flock to only replicate grass. Now, flock is a finishing material. It's pre-coloured. You apply it over a glue on a existing diorama that's fully built and painted. It can also, larger clumps can be used as foliage for trees as well. It is recommended to look into railway or train modelling flock brands over the wargaming stuff, as it comes in a much larger quantity. You'll find a lot of recommendations of products and methods of applying flock onto dioramas. I'm going to show you the cheapest way without using in-brand glues. All you'll need is some cotton swabs or Q-tips, toothpicks, a place to place a heap of glue, newspaper and PVA glue. PVA glue or wood glue dries clear. It takes a while to dry and it can pretty much hold any style of flock material to a base and will not interfere with the existing paint job, nor fogging up or changing the finish from a matte to a gloss or a gloss to a matte. Application is completely up to you, and it can be interesting and creative or very general purpose. I'm going for growth on a apocalyptic diorama, though you could do something like a broad meadow or a grassland area, cliffs, clumps of grass, or just a field of grass. For a larger area, just get a large paintbrush or a swab and just cover the entire surface in PVA glue. For just tiny bits and pieces here and there, such as what I'm doing, just a toothpick or a finer brush or Q-tip for smaller blobs here and there. Wherever you put a blob of glue or an area covered in glue will be covered in flock. Once all of your areas are covered in glue, place your base or diorama on a opened newspaper. Pick up the flock with your fingers. The finer flocks are harder and more messier to apply. The more coarser and thicker, smaller spongy bits looking like bushes are a lot easier. You can just place where you please. If you're using mixed flock, place the more coarse flock first before you put your finer flocks. Once you've sprinkled in each patch of glue, or if the entire area is covered in glue, press it and pat it down a bit. Tip your diorama upside down and shake the rest on your newspaper. Then you're able to collect all the loose flock back in a container for future use. You'll find such a large container like mine will pretty much last for the rest of your modelling career. The biggest problem with the application of flock is it's only stuck between the surface and the bottom of the actual flock itself. It's still fairly fluffy on top, and over time can wear down and actually flake off and make a bit of a mess. Some people complain after making a model with flock on it, it's actually going to molt flock for quite a few months, leaving a mess around the house or wherever you display your model. I've got two ideas. One was suggested by a colleague of spraying all flocked areas with hairspray. Not too sure how long the hairspray itself will actually last. My method is watering down PVA glue with 2 part water to 1 part glue, mixing it into a slurry and actually applying it on top of the flock. The water mixed with glue will seep throughout the foamy texture and material of the flock, and dry over a long period of time, as there's a long evaporation process involved. This will make the flock absolutely stiff throughout and not flake off over time. If the colour does change, it will revert back to its original colour once completely dried. And here's an example of a base with very subtle amounts of flock showing greenery. Now, if the area's quite large of a consistent colour, you're able to shade a little bit of airbrush colour over the stiff flock to give it a bit of variation, or actually dry brush. This is not very common practice in model making and base building, but if it is stiff, it is very possible. I have painted flocked surfaces and trees before. Very difficult to do with brush unless completely stiff using my methods. But by airbrush, even if it's loose flock, very possible, and can be slightly rewarding in the use of post shading. Examples of painted flock surfaces can be seen in my Gaza Sea diorama snow video. Check that out, which will be in my model review feed. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, until next time, the beautiful thing about flock as a finishing material, your imagination in building a unique and different diorama can be shaken up and finished quite nicely with the use of flocks, static grasses and other diorama products. Have a look at your local model shop in the train section, and there's just a lot of interesting goods that can be used and employed. Thank you for watching, and as always, until next time.